Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Express. Well, this is a new week and a new episode on what is becoming everyone's favorite talk show. You'll agree with me that it is encouraging, exciting, profound, real, energizing, sensible, and sensitive. This is what Express is all about, and much more. So, without any further delay, please help me welcome back to the stage the beautiful, expressive, talented, and savvy director of Express. She's called Carolyn. Carolyn, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carolyn. Welcome to my show, Express. Our goal here is to give you hope while you listen to each story that we present. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you will be notified of all new content. I know you love this show, so share so that others can benefit. Our guest today is Hilbert Glenn. He's a man that has experienced tragedy, calamity, catastrophe, hardship, but he's still here. He's a man of faith and courage, and he now lives in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Why don't you sit back, as I always say, relax, and listen to his story. Hello, Hilbert.
Hello, hello,
How are
Sister
you?
Carly. I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good. Fine, thank you. It's been a while. Over 7 to 10 years, we haven't actually seen each other,
Yeah,
and you're looking so good.
that's for sure.
Welcome. Welcome to my show.
Thank you.
Good.
Mm.
Now, I want to ask you, you were born in Jamaica? Yes?
Yes.
All right. Tell me a little bit about your parents.
Well, my parents were Christian Seventh-day Adventists. So when I was born, I was the last of 5 kids. One sister was alive. There were 3 between me and that sister, but they died before I get to know them. I have 2 brothers that died. One was Enoch, one was Timothy, and a sister by the name of Dolores. They all died before I get to know. I was old enough to know them.
Okay.
But my father, when I was a little boy, he was away. He was living here in the States. He was in the Army, served as one of the Tuskegee Airmen. After the war, he came back to Jamaica. I was a little boy then. I lived with my mother and my father because my sister, by this time, my old sister, was married and living somewhere else. So it was just my parents and me. And as a little boy, I always go to church with my father. He was a preacher.
Okay.
But unfortunately, my father got sick after he came back from the war.
And
And
how
we
old
spent,
were you then?
I was like probably about 5, 6.
Wow, 5. Okay.
And he was always in the hospital. He spent many days, many months in the hospital until he came home. And when I was 7, a little over 7 years of age, he died. I remember when he died the night, and it was a blow for me losing my father at age 7. Because when he came back, we were very close, and he'd do everything. He started training me to be a preacher in the church because he was a preacher.
Okay.
And then he just got sick and he was in the hospital. I remember the night when he died. Never forget. It was a Wednesday night at 1 o'clock in the night. He started having hiccup from about 4 o'clock, and it went right through until he passed 1 o'clock in the night. And that thing haunted me ever since.
You were by his bedside?
Yeah, I was lying in his bed. I wouldn't come out of the bed because he was sick.
Okay.
And then he passed, and then my mom took me out the bed, and it was a rough night for me.
Yeah, I can
But
imagine.
anyway, we passed and we had the funeral. Right after he had the funeral, my mom took sick. And it turned out that she had cancer.
Oh.
And a year and a half after my father died, at age 8 years, 5 months, my mom died. And that was like tragic for
Sorry
me,
about that. Yeah.
losing both parents at that young age.
Yes, yes, yes.
It was something. But anyway, I continued living at the home with my aunt, who she was living with us by then, my mom's sister.
Mm-hmm.
And I started back in the school, went to school, elementary school, and I started preparing to take the common entrance exam, get all the books them and everything, started studying.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to age 10, my aunt went out on a journey traveling and met in an accident, and she died in the accident.
Oh, wow.
I was 10. So that threw me out school again.
Mm-mm.
After my aunt was buried, I had to leave from Hanover, where I was born, went to Westmoreland to live with my uncle, my
Okay.
mom's brother. I went there shortly after my aunt died, and I lived with my uncle for a year and probably about 8 months. He took sick. He was a diabetic. Went into the hospital, didn't make it. So at age 12, I lost my uncle. So between 7 and 12, I lost my mom, my father, my aunt, my uncle. And that I started wondering what's going on with me.
Mm.
Why is everything happening? Did I do something wrong? I was totally confused and depressed and everything. But by then, the only place for me, I couldn't stay with my uncle's wife because they had a lot of children. And with he died, I had to leave. So I went to live with my sister now,
Okay.
who was married and doing business in Trelawney. So I went there, went back into school for about a year, elementary school, and then after that I started working in the business I was like age 13, 14.
Working at age 13, 14.
It
Wow.
was my sister's business. When I say
Okay.
working, I was running the place with them. I live with them, so I take
Yes.
care of the
Help
business.
them.
And then we moved from where we were at Trelawney. They bought a bigger place to Troy, and then we moved there. And then we had a wholesale and retail. So I learned a lot of business from them. I was running the place by the time I was 16 years of age.
Okay.
And then after that, I decided to leave the country and go to big city Kingston to try out for myself and get back into school. So when I reached age 16 plus, I left Trelawney, went to Kingston to live with a friend of mine. And we started out, two young boys, teenagers, doing odd jobs around Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
My first job was with a stationery company. I worked there for about a year. I got registered back into school, started doing accounts, and I would work in the day, go to classes in the evening. But while I was doing that, I decided that I was going to try out the police department. So I went and did a test for the police department,
Mm-hmm.
passed the test, was
Great.
waiting for them to call me. I didn't hear from them. I went and did a test for the army, got through everything, was waiting for them. I'm still working. Then I went to the fire department and did a test. So after probably about 3-4 months, the army called me in. So I went in, they sent me to doctor and everything. And then I went off to Newcastle for training.
Okay.
I went to Newcastle, I spent 2 weeks up there. And when I saw the rigorous training and everything that was going on, I was not too comfortable.
Okay.
So after 2 weeks, I came home for a weekend. When I came home, there was a letter from the fire department calling me to come in.
Okay.
So instead of going back to the army, I went to the fire department.
Great.
And then I got my training, and then I started working with the Kingston Fire Department. But for some reason, whenever you start to do something, it's like the devil comes in to try to stop you.
Discourage you.
I started working with the fire department, and after 3 years, I started getting training to be an officer. Got all my books and everything. I started to study to be a fire officer because I was a driver then. But I was involved in sports at the time. I used to do bodybuilding. I used to play cricket for the fire department, things like that. So, in Jamaica at the time, every year they would have a youth club week. And at the end of the week, they would have a grand ball, and then they would crown boy and girl of the year.
Okay.
So that year was 1966. They had this youth club ball in St. Anne's Bay, Windsor Hotel. So we all traveled down from Kingston, in a group of us representing the youth club.
Yeah.
We went down to participate in the ball this Saturday night. Everything went okay. And then after the ball, it was sponsored by the Governor General at the time, who was Sir Clifford Campbell. And everything went okay. And then we stayed at the hotel this Saturday night.
Okay.
So in the morning early, we got up and we went to Puerto Rico to have a bath in the sea.
Okay.
And then we were leaving out back to Kingston in the evening for Sunday. So we were at the beach from about 7 o'clock until 12:30. We decided to leave to head back to St. Anne's Bay now, to the hotel, to get clean up and get dressed and to go back to Kingston. On our way from the beach, the only thing I remember is that when I came out the water, we all went in the car. I was sitting in the front seat, a passenger seat, and the car left.
Okay, so how many of you were in the car total?
It was 5 of us in the car.
So you were in the front, the driver?
It was 10 of us came down from Kingston, the club.
Okay.
But after we came out the water, everybody was in their back trunk and things. So the girls went into the other car, and the guys went into one car.
Okay.
We were all traveling together now. 2 cars was traveling together. And we were almost to our destination, probably about 10 minutes from our destination. I was told, going around a slight curve, the car, instead of taking the curve, ran straight into a retaining wall. It was told that the speedometer jammed at 85 miles an hour. So that means the driver was going very fast. He was a sergeant at the fire department.
Okay.
So I was told that after the accident, because I really don't remember anything about that accident.
Okay.
After I was told that the fire department from St. Anne's Bay came, they had to cut the car up to get us out. That's how bad it was.
Okay, so let's just back up a little again. So you were driving along, 5 of you were in the car, you were in the front, the driver, and 3 other men in the back of the car.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you met the accident, but you couldn't remember anything.
No.
All right, go ahead now.
So as I said, the fire department came and they got us out the car. They sent the 3 people in the back seat to the hospital, and the 2 of us who were in the front now, the driver and myself, and they took us to the morgue.
Because they thought you had died. You and the
driver.
Okay.
They took us to the morgue at 1:30 this Sunday, and at 3 o'clock, I was told it was announced on the radio: car crash in St. Anne's Bay, 2 dead, 3 critical. I was one of the dead, but they didn't call my name. But I was there not knowing anything. And then I was told that at about 5:30, someone came in the morgue and they said, they look at me, and I was just lying there, and they touched my body and it was still warm. So
while you were in the morgue?
while I was in the morgue. So this person said, but hold on, if these two men are dead, why is this man's body still warm? He should be cold by now. So they went and got the people from the hospital, and they came and they checked and found out that I was still alive. So they took me from the hospital, no, from the morgue to the hospital. And that's where they had me in a little room adjacent to the ward on a stretcher. And I was there, I was told, for 11 days before I came back conscious. Okay, so when I came back out of my unconscious state, that's when they discovered what was wrong with me. They took me from the room to the hospital ward, and then the next day they took me to theater to check on me, and they discovered that I have a lot of damage all over my body. My pelvic bone burst wide open, 2 hips was dislocated, many other cuts and bruises all over. I spent the next 4 months in the hospital. Couldn't move, couldn't walk, couldn't help myself. I thought I was going to be paralyzed for life. As a young man at 23 years of age, this is what happened to me at that point. I was 23 when this happened. And I said, Lord, what is it now? I just started back school and this happened now. At least I'm alive, but I don't know where I'm going.
Right.
After I was discharged from the hospital in a wheelchair, I could not walk. I was in a wheelchair at home for a while until I started to use a walker and started going to physiotherapy. I did almost 5 years physiotherapy.
Wow. So 5 years, you didn't work, obviously. You were just...
I came back after a while
rehab.
with a walker to work with the fire department, but I couldn't drive anymore. So I would just do light duty, stay in the office and work at the office, answer phone calls and send out messages and things like that, take the fire calls and send them out, but I couldn't go. So after I realized that I couldn't continue in that state, I resigned. And then I continued with my treatment, and then when I got better, I took a trip to Canada, spent a few years in Canada, and then I went back to Jamaica after that.
Okay. Wow, what a story. So great to see that someone actually was was able to recognize that you really weren't dead.
Yep. I owe my life to that guy. His name was, I think, was Baker. I haven't seen him since. But I owe my life to him. But I went through a lot of trauma because it didn't stop there. I started back working. I couldn't go back to the fire department, so I started driving. So I would drive a city bus, I would drive tankers, things like that, country bus, until I started going back to school. And then that's when I went back to CAS, did my business study. And then I went and worked with the Bauxite Company for 15 years. And after that, I became the manager for the Seventh-day Adventist Credit Union in Jamaica for 5 years. During the time when I was working with the credit union, that's when I was appointed a lay magistrate for St. Catherine and also a justice of the peace. So after a while in 1994, I was appointed as a family court judge in St. Catherine. I used to do family court on Wednesdays. And I serve on many, many, many committees, things like that. School board, small business development board at the Prime Minister's office. I was on the lay magistrate, the lay magistrate board. And Spanish Tongue Redevelopment Board. I serve on the Infirmary Board, St. Catherine High School Board, and things like that. I was vice president for JCDC. St. Catherine, neighborhood watch chairman. It's so many things I was involved in.
Wow.
And then in 2000, I was recognized by the country because when they did check on me and see all the things that I was doing, they thought that someone like me who went through so much
Exactly.
tragedy as a young person, for me to come up and be doing all of these things to helping people, they had to recognize me. So I was given the Governor General's Achievement Award for St. Catherine in 2000.
Wow. So let me ask you, what, after all of this, what helped you to pick up all the pieces? Tell me, give me an idea. What
Well,
helped you to pick up all these pieces that you could actually bounce back and attain all these things and to do all these things, and you're still doing these things?
well, before my mom died, when she was sick in bed, I was 8 years of age. And I remember I was kneeling by her bedside and she put her hand on my head and she said to me, son, I was her only son at the time of life. She said, son, if I die, promise me that I will see you in heaven.
Okay.
And that thing has stayed with me all these years. So all the things that I've been through, I always hold on to God. Because He's the one that kept me.
Right.
At a certain point in my life, I had stopped going to church. I never go to another church, but I just wasn't going because I said I want to see what the world has to offer. As a matter of fact, when the accident happened, when I was hit and knocked unconscious, that's the time I wasn't going to church. I had stopped going to church at that time. And when I came out of that accident, to this day, I tell everyone that, it's God brought me back. Because He saw something in me and ready for me to go. Because by right, I'm not supposed to be here. The accident that I was in, the condition of the car and what happened to me is a miracle. So every time anyone sees me, they say, boy, somebody up there loves you because you're not supposed to be here.
Right.
As a matter of fact, after the accident, the doctor told me if I should live to get married, I might not be able to have children because of the damage that happened to me in the accident.
Right.
And you know my daughter.
Right.
And she looked like me. And I have another daughter who is living in Pennsylvania. She's a family counselor. Her husband is a minister. But unfortunately, my son, my only son, died tragically in Florida 8 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
So when I came back and, was busy, I was here, getting involved with the church and doing everything that I could because, I was very involved in church. I'm an ordained elder in the church. I was always in the church. I direct choirs. I sing in groups. I used to sing in quartet, in big groups. We had a group by the name of Jamaica Heritage Singers. I was part of that group. I used to play the bass guitar in a group, things like that. And I was involved with the church here. And right in the midst of it, the devil stepped in and took my son's life. And that shook me up.
Nice.
And I said, that was 8 years ago. And I said, Lord, after all these things, this happened to me. But then I said, but why not me? Look at the sacrifice Christ did for me. He didn't commit any sin, but He came here and He died for me. I am a sinner, and we know that a lot of temptation is here and we fall every day, but we rise. But God has seen me through all these years. And I live to be, next March, if I live to see next March, I'll be 80 years of age.
Wow.
And my father died when he was 41. My mom died when she was 39. So I can say God has given me twice their age.
Yes.
So I have to praise Him every day. Things sometimes is rough, especially since this pandemic, because I got knocked down During the pandemic, I went to do a biopsy on my prostate, and my body was infected with salmonella poison in my blood, so I almost died.
Mm.
I was in ICU, still suffering from it, and then after that, I had COVID. I'm still going through the trauma because I've not been out working since 2000.
Okay.
I've been home. I go out whenever possible, but as I said, God has been there. And with all of these things, He brought me back. But when I had COVID, I collapsed in the house, and the ambulance came, and they put me in the ambulance, and they started calling around for a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no space in any hospital. They were all full, so they had to leave me.
Leave you home?
Yes. So
Wow.
I had to, in my sick state with nobody to help me, I had to get around and started boiling my ginger and, the home remedies and taking my vitamin C and zinc and everything. But my daughter would help me. She go and get the stuff them and do my steam 3-4 times a day. And that's what I've been doing.
God has been faithful.
Yeah, but God has been good, and He has kept me through all of this. So I can just say He is the one that has been keeping me. So I just try to do my bit. I can't do much right now, but I still do what I can to help others.
Right.
But this is our life. We're on this earth to help someone. And I try to do that each day. Even though I'm not going out, I still go online and help
Other people
wherever I can, because He's the one that gave me the opportunity to do so.
Well, your
I
story.
I don't regret anything that happened, but He has taught me to be strong and to trust Him. And with all that went down, I have never gotten myself in any trouble with the law, was never been arrested, never committed a crime, nothing at all, I say today when I hear what's happening to young folks and they're giving up and, doing all kind of stuff and hurting, you can do better than that, because if you trust God, He will see you through.
I would ask you to, just before we close, in a sentence or two, what would be your advice to someone who is watching you now, who has not gone through half of what you've been through?
Yeah.
What would be your advice to them?
Well, I would say, whatever you faces in life, don't let it keep you down. There's always a better day. You have to remember that whatever happens will pass. It doesn't matter how serious it is. Something will happen, it will pass. But what we should do is learn from whatever the situation is. If you learn from it, you will do better, and you will get stronger. Right. But if something happens to you and you fall down and never get up, then that's it for you. But always try to get up, because there's a God above, and He promises us that He's going to be with us every step of the way. And if we just believe in Him and trust in Him and allow Him to guide us, and always pray, because things are always going to happen to us. It happened to the best of us, but we'll never give up. Just trust God and He will see you through.
Thank you so much. That's very good advice. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come and to share your story. I know every time you have to go over it, it takes something out of you, but I'm glad you took the time to come and share it today.
Yeah.
So all the best until we see you again, and keep on looking good.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
And anytime. And this looks is not just me, it's God.
Amen.
He's the one that's keeping me.
Good.
And I thank Him every day.
Amen.
Each morning I wake up, I thank Him for another day.
Be grateful.
God is good.
Be grateful. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Thank
So
you so much.
have a good night. God bless you.
Good.
Continue doing the good work you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank God. Okay, so you heard Mr. Hilbert's story. I always try to leave a thought before we close. And it is a thought that is said, never regret anything that has happened in your life. It cannot be changed, undone, or forgotten. So take it as a lesson, learn, and move on. So until Tuesday, this is Carolyn saying, from Express, goodbye.